Hello and welcome back to the XJ with Wagoneer 44s under it, or the Red Jeep Project, who knows, the Red Jeep as I usually call it on Facebook. And I open again with the second version of the clip that I ended with last time, which is actually me driving around the same route I did before, but this time with the GoPro pointed back at my rear axle. Right now I only have one GoPro, so that's why I have to run routes twice. Usually what I would do is run a route for the front end, and then run a route pointed back at the rear end, and see what I come up with. You can change that, however, if you share this video with all your friends. Make sure you subscribe and watch every one of our videos. Maybe I'll be able to get 2 GoPros. Anyways, I used a couple different clips, but the route is the same, but I used a couple different clips from a couple different spots in the routes. So there's a couple different, few different sceneries they end up seeing. But this is what the rear axle looks like in action. Stick around. We're going to be working on my rear bumper and tire carrier again. Alright, here they are together and hung on the Jeep loosely. I was just hanging it on here so I can make final adjustments and see if I need to do some more grinding here and there to make it fit. And I do. I have to waller out the holes on the brackets that actually hold the bumper to the Jeep, so it actually needs to get shifted a little bit more this way. Up and down I can adjust just fine. But there she is on there anyways. I do have another problem actually, which I'll show you. We're now looking from under the Jeep up towards the bumper. Bumper's up there, coming down this way. That is one of the mounting bolts that go through the normal stock mount. If you're wondering, there is another bracket that ties into where the trailer hitch goes. That goes up to the bracket, so that's not a problem there, but that is an issue. So I'll have to cut those bolts down on both sides where they touch the shackle a little bit. If you had a stock shackle, probably wouldn't be a problem, but those are iron rock off-road boomerang shackles, so it ends up being a problem. And another issue that I do have, because the stock bumper and brackets I took off here the first time, a couple of the bolts that were holding it in were completely seized in place. So you can see the new shiny one up there for the bracket, and the one below is the old one. So I have to completely drill those out or something. Then I'll have to make a run down to the local hardware store and find some nuts to put on this side. I suppose I could drop a tack weld on there on this side to make another weld nut. I might do that, I might not, we'll see. On this side I just have this one, and there's the upper one for this side is also like that. And then the same thing on this side, just reversed. The lower one came out fine, but the upper one needs to get cut and re-drilled and whatnot. And just like that, with the help of the air hammer, the factory weld nuts, and what was left of the bolt that was seized in there came off just like butter. So I have to then go ahead and waller out these slots this way, so I could shift the bumper more towards the driver's side, test fit it again, and then tighten her down a little bit tighter this time, so I can then go ahead and give these side plates some massaging. unfortunately, probably to warping from when this bumper was put together, this side piece is pointed way the hell out into space. So as you can see, I'll have to make some adjustments to this to suck it back into here. I'm not really sure at what point. It wasn't because of this, it was like that before when I was test fitting it. So I'll have to make some cuts here and bend this back in so it fits flush. The other side's like that too, but not quite as bad. I might be able to get away without bending it or cutting it at all, but that's another thing I gotta work out. And of course, because of dirt-bound off-road subpar quality control, none of the hardware they provide works. That needs to get drilled out a little bit bigger, or a whole size or two bigger. This side, and the slots that they're supposed to be able to slip into so you can move it. That is, of course, also true for the whole thing itself. The hole's big enough to hit the round part through, but the square part through, not at all. That one's not even big enough to get the round part through. Step it up there, pound. Alright, so after spending unnecessary time to waller out the holes, slips into there, slips into the other one. Provided hardware slips into the slot like it's supposed to. Or should slip into the slot it's supposed to, just did. There you go. Slips into that one. There we go. There's this tight spot still a little bit, but I fixed that for dirt bound too. Then all these other carriage bolt holders as well. The bolt now actually slips into like it's supposed to. So, should be good. Just go prep it for paint. Now my paint prepping method is the same that I do with pretty much anything. I do have to clean out these ones a little bit. But this is ready to go now. I just take 120 grit sandpaper, sand everything down, give it a nice scuff, take off any, like surface grit like this over here, and then there's a little bit of surface rust that's forming on this because it's been a while since I've had this all together, and it's been in bare metal for quite some time. And then I'll throw Rust-Oleum Rusty Metal Primer on it, and then I throw a coat of, or a few coats of Rust-Oleum Rusty Metal Primer on top of it. And after the sandpaper, I forgot a step. I'd also wipe it down with mineral spirits or whatever your chosen chemical is to clean off any grimes and oils and just general dirt and whatnot. But it's all set, ready to go. I also wallered out the slots for the brackets. These brackets are the brackets that make the aftermarket RS fabrication bumper hook up to a stock XJ. And then there's another bracket that attaches down here that then goes to the trailer hitch mounts. I had to waller out these slots a little bit so I can get everything to go further to the left a little bit. But unfortunately, that's all I can do for today. It's Saturday as I video this. It started to rain, so my day's about over with what I can do now. So tomorrow hopefully it won't rain, being Sunday, or tomorrow being Sunday, and be able to continue my work. Alright, so I have now, it's Sunday by the way, it's not raining today so far. Shouldn't, the sky's nice and blue. But, so I've decided on the final positioning-ish of the bumper itself. As it turns out, is that this side is pretty torqued compared to that side. So this side, the side piece is pointed a little bit up. On that side, it's pointed straight or maybe even slightly down, which I'm not going to complain about. It's a still nicely built bumper. What that means, I'll have to take the side pieces, these, and make some slices in there to make them line up better. But right now I'm going to take a break from fiddling with that. I'm going to clean up the tire carrier itself. with some 120 grit. Wipe it down with mineral spirits and start the process of painting it. Alright, I gotta get you guys back up to speed. So, this turned into a bit of a clusterfuck, but I got it set the way it is. I just have to do some finished grinding over here. So I had to drill some holes into the rear quarter panel of the Jeep here. And then they have these, this bumper came with some brass fittings. They get pushed into the panel, and then for further peace of mind, I went and I also dropped some tacks on there so I know that it's never going to come out. However, I did, of course, cut a slice into here so I could bend this separate of this to make it fit against the Jeep and whatnot. However, the gap became so big, I ended up having to make some little fill pieces to fill the gap, and then I made some welds across it like this, and I had to take a hammer and push this back in because it started to bow out on me quite a bit. It came out about as good as I can expect, I suppose. I'll have to take a grinding wheel and then do some finish work with a flap disc to smooth out this transition, and obviously I have to get rid of the top piece of my little fill piece right there, or the top section of my fill piece right there. So it's looks like it's a smooth transition. It'll look I guess it'll look kind of funny, because all of a sudden it'll have like a curve to it, but it's the best I could do, and it's the way that's going to fit. You could argue that I could fight with the bumper to get it lined up better, but then I'm going to fuck up the other side too. So the other side is lined up better than this side. Like I had said, the bumper is twerked a little bit. I don't blame ours for that. It happens. But, it results in some massaging being required over here. And thanks to the grinding wheel and the flap disc, it's as if they came right out of ours fabrication shop. Just like that. Alright, so I have the bumper pulled off again. And I figured I might as well explain the mounting, or the way that the RS Fabrication rear bumper mounts with it off, and you can see all the brackets and whatnot. So there's two L brackets that just mount with the factory locations. Of course, when I removed the factory brackets, there were a bunch of the weld nuts that were completely seized to their bolts. So last year I just drilled them off and air hammered the heads of the bolts off, which worked. But now I had a weld nut still welded to that spot. So I took the air hammer again, like I talked about before, and it literally was like a 2-second pull of the trigger, and they all came off just like that. So I did go out and get some hardware so I can now just use a nut on the back side, and I'll use a washer so it grabs more area of the Jeep. But so there's these brackets, and then the bumper itself slips in between here, and there's a lot of adjustment here. I had to waller those hells, or I really had to waller those slots out so I can move the whole bumper this way more. And then I have these brackets which then mount into the trailer hitch locations. So the brackets go up under like this and tie into where the trailer hitch goes, which then tie into the bracket. For a rear of a Cherokee, that's probably, kinda as good as it gets. There are a few different companies that have a couple different things, but they all more or less will have a bracket like this, and then we'll have some kind of bracket that ties into the factory mounting locations. When I was looking for bumpers, I looked at all the different options, and they all were kind of about the same. So, because I already had the RS Fabrication front, I went with the RS Fabrication rear. And that's it. Now, because I'll be using we'll be mounting a skid plate for my gas tank under here as well, I might have to waller this spot out a little bit so I can make it fit in there easy. And that's how it goes. And that's that. That'll close out this video. Be sure to leave a comment below, subscribe, and check us out on Facebook. Link is in the description.